My name is Ateira Griffin, and I'm CEO and founder of Bond Building Our Nation's Daughters, which is based in Baltimore City. So there are so many things that inspired me to start Bond. I always talk about my mother and my grandmother first. My grandmother raised three children by herself in the 60s and the 70s. And then my mother, she raised two children by herself in the 80s and the 90s. And thinking about everything that they went through, all of the struggles and challenges that they faced and overcame, and then also the community that was around them to support them was really important in developing Bond. On the other side of things, as an educator in Baltimore City, I served as Dean of Students at the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women for a few years. And while working there, I witnessed a lot of different dynamics between mothers and daughters and their relationship, but also like a single mom's pursuit of her own growth and development and needing support in very specific ways, and realizing that there were not enough programs providing that support at that time of both having a community to come to grow and develop with your daughter, to learn how to mentor your daughter, and then continue your own professional career and personal growth as a single mom. I sat down with my mother and asked her a whole slew of questions on what she had, and we developed the program together. And that's really what inspired us to get moving. I chose the name Bond because I wanted our name to represent our work. So we work to build bonds between single mothers and daughters, to build positive relationships, and to also build bonds between single moms and other single moms to continue to build a community together. And when I thought about the word bond, I knew that's what our name needed to be. But then I also wondered, like, well, what do the letters in bond stand for? And we are building with one another. And we believe that the family is the crux of society. Like, that is what keeps society moving. It's at the center of society. And in a single parent household, a single mother household, the mom is the center of that. And so we are building our nation's daughters because we focus on our mothers and our daughters' two-generation approach to mentoring. And we're building the nation by supporting and building that community through positive, healthy bonds with one another. So growing up in a single mother household has its ups and downs. My mother is a hard worker, and she did everything she possibly could to make sure that she gave pretty much everything she had to my brother and I. And at times I would see her struggling, struggling to make sure that we had a roof over our head, struggling to make sure that not only was there food on the table, but that we also had the opportunity to take advantage of extracurricular activities and grow socially with our peers and to participate in community activities, while at the same time trying to balance filling in some of the gaps that she may have missed out on because she had us at a younger age. And, growing up in a single mother household, it really teaches you what it takes to have a family, be cohesive and close. It also teaches you very early on how to take responsibility for your actions. And so, I'm grateful that we grew up the way we did. And one thing I can say we never lacked was love. I knew that I was loved by my mother. I knew that we were loved by our grandmother, and they poured so much into us. It also helped me to realize that sometimes they don't have people to pour back into them. So growing up in a single mother household definitely set me up to be the woman I am today, to not take for granted all of the sacrifices that my mother and my grandmother made for me and for my brother. And at the same time, it makes me compassionate and generous in the way that I interact with other people, especially mothers. I have so much respect for all of the hard work that mothers do, in particular, Black mothers. Bond takes a very comprehensive approach to the way that we build these relationships with single moms and daughters. And we have some specific ways that we do that. And so one way is through mother-daughter mentoring. That's one of our key programs. And we work with single moms and daughters to build positive relationships through the use of healing circles. So healing and restorative circle practices, which helps to build listening skills, communication skills, between the moms and daughters, but also build community with the cohort that's going through our program at the same time. And outside of that, we also have our activities, which is still a part of the mother-daughter mentoring program, where we go through STEAM activities, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math, activities that moms and daughters learn and participate in at the same time. And it's always just so much fun to see how how activated the daughters get, especially if they get a chance to like teach their mom something that their mom did not know, but also how engaged they are with one another throughout the activities that we do, which may include something like fluid painting or painting with a twist, or creating a root cause analysis to figure out like what is it in their relationship that is causing obstacles or issues to them reaching their goals together, and how can they actually achieve them by eradicating some of those root causes. And so that's like one piece of the initiative. The other thing that we do is we have experiential learning. And, I know we're in this time during the pandemic and it's harder to get out, but what we have been able to do is some virtual trips with our moms and daughters to help them see new places together and have new experiences with one another, because we know this also creates a lasting bond. When you have new experiences with a mother and daughter, they create memories with each other that they cherish, and new learning with one another that they can then continue to talk about at home. And then finally, I will say two other things that we are working on that are in the works is a financial wellness curriculum that is specifically built for Black mothers and daughters to go through at the same time, to eradicate these generational knowledge gaps that we have when it comes to finances and money and wealth building in the Black community. And then also a single mother to single mother mentoring. So every single mom receiving a single mother mentor who has been through this process, who understands what it's like to walk in these shoes, and can be that space for mentorship for our single moms in Bond, so that she can continue to grow and develop herself even outside of the space that we have for the mother-daughter mentoring, are our key initiatives that we have, and ways that we build these positive relationships both inside of the family, but also so very deeply into our moms and Bond. As a result of the pandemic, Bond has had to undergo many changes, like a lot of nonprofits, right? A lot of organizations and extracurricular activities. For us, what that has looked like is normally we would have meetings twice a month with our moms and daughters to do our mentoring, have our check-ins, and then provide mentorship. However, when we saw the pandemic coming, the need was so high, and our moms let us know immediately, and so did the daughters, that meeting twice a month was not going to be enough. Because we're in a virtual space and we moved our programming to virtual spaces, that touch point, it wasn't as deep, if you would say, if you meet twice a month via Zoom to talk about issues that may be happening, especially on top of the pandemic. We have the racial unrest that is continuing to unfold in our country. And we have moms and daughters who are majority Black women and Black girls. And so what we realized after seeing the outcry from our participants was that we needed to meet once a week. So we upped the amount of time that we spend with our moms and daughters and our engagement. We increased our check-ins. So we actually do check-ins once a week as well. And what I mean by check-ins is our lead counselors would call and have conversations with the moms and daughters to see how they were doing, what they may have needed, any supports that they were in need of, just to be an ear to talk to as well, to process what we were going through during the pandemic. And this increase of touch points really strengthened our community. And what we saw is that our moms and daughters showed up every single time, ready to engage, ready to talk, ready to learn, and ready to have some type of activity that was feeding them and helping them in between the times that we met. And it also gave us a key insight that the more we meet, the more we talk, the more our moms and daughters grew. And we saw a lot of growth and development, not only in the house and bonding and building those positive relationships, but also career-wise for our mothers at a time when, a lot of folks were struggling when it came to jobs. And so the pandemic really opened our eyes to the frequency of meeting, but also how do we provide materials to our mothers and daughters? How do we get them the resources that they need which helped us to develop a new way of getting these materials to them, which is our bond box. And basically, we put all of the session materials, resources, activities, and a very special item from a Black woman-owned business in the box for our moms and daughters to experience together, and then come to our sessions and discuss and reflect and grow. And then finally, we developed our YouTube channel, which is MD Bond. And that's just a way for us to even reach a broader audience, because we know there are a lot of single moms and daughters out there looking for ways, looking for things to do, looking for ways to continue to connect and put some variety in their day. And we provide that on the YouTube channel. My mother and I do activities and videos, and we also have our mom chats where we have moms come in and talk about how they're problem solving and troubleshooting for a lot of the things that they're going through, but also how they're planning for what happens as we continue to process through the pandemic, and then also what can happen afterwards, career-wise, mentally, emotionally, socially, and physically. So we have broadened our horizons in Bond due to the pandemic, but also it's really as a response to our community's need, and we're happy to provide those services. Restorative health means to me that we are, one, checking into where, not only where a person is when they come into our bond sessions, but where they've come from. So normally when you think about mentoring, you think about, okay, what is it that that person needs? What kind of advice do they need to move forward? But sometimes we need to go back and we need to understand and pick through, like, how was mom raised? What kind of family dynamics did she come from? What are her hopes and her dreams and vision and aspirations? And how does that translate into the relationship that she has with her daughter? Then we can take that and move forward. And so we're restoring a part of mom, a part of daughter that may have started generations ago through practices that may not be as healthy, or may be healthy, but need to be even more improved and adjusted for the day and time that we live in. And so we may sometimes even see generations beyond just mom and daughter come to our sessions. Like grandma might be there, auntie might be there to help restore these relationships and reset the way that folks interact with each other in families. And then this is so important for Black women, because there is a lot of hurt and pain and trauma, and also just learned ways of being that we have without even explaining or talking to one another sometimes. And if we take the time to sit and have open conversations with each other across generations, we fill in these knowledge gaps. We also fill in, we help understand and then heal pain and hurt from the past, which helps us to move forward. And it prevents us from passing on some of these generational traumas and issues and ways of being that we've related to each other and families from generation to generation as well. So we start to create these healthy relationships as a foundation moving forward. But in order to do that, we have to start with restoring what has come before us. Society is going through a lot right now, but what we can do to cope is to remember our base and what's happening in our home. So let's not get so caught up on what's going on outside. Let's focus on, how am I doing? Who are you? Who am I today? And let's continue to work on that relationship and be positive with one another. One thing that my mother and we do that I think really helps us cope is we check in. So we do have our check-ins at least every couple days, where we are not just going through a schedule of what needs to be done, or talking about work, because we do work together, but we're actually talking about our lives and who we are and how we're feeling as people. And then something else that we do is we take walks together. So I'm very big on physical activity, and we like to take walks together outside in the wilderness somewhere that we can just kind of still our minds and enjoy each other's company, and sometimes each other's quiet, to just be away from the noise for a moment. If you cannot get out, finding practices that you can come together and do in your house. And if you're not in the same house with each other, trying to find an ebb and flow where you open those lines of communication with each other to not talk about what's happening in the world, but to actually talk to each other about who we are in these moments in time today. And to remember that things do get better. Things do get better, and we can focus on our locus of control and not so much everything that's happening outside of that. Greatest accomplishment in this work so far, I have a few things that I want to talk about. Like, one, it is any time that we see a breakthrough in a mother-daughter relationship where we have a mom and a daughter who's come to program and they both look like they do not want to be there. Because I want to be clear, we are not just, our moms and daughters come to us in different places in their relationship. Some are doing great and they just want to continue that, and some are not. And so when we're able to see a mom and daughter go from not looking at each other when they're talking, not understanding each other's point of view or perspective, not even listening, honestly, and just talking at each other or not talking at all, to being able to have a conversation where they can both say their I feel statements and hear one another, and then make a plan of action for how they'll continue to have open communication and relationship moving forward. That's a win. That's a win. And it may seem so simple, but that's the beginning of a great, healthy relationship that can go on for decades. And then in particular, I have, there are a few bond moms who've been able to move the needle career wise. And the reason I bring this up is because when we have a single mom who's able to achieve a higher level in her career or her education, that allows her freedom. It allows her the freedom to spend more time with her daughter, more time pouring into her family, and more time focusing on herself as a whole human being. And they're not as worried and preoccupied about finances, which creates a healthier environment for the daughter and a great example for her to follow. And so we had one mom last year receive a scholarship to continue her education to get her master's in health administration. And that was one of her big goals. She came to us in the beginning of the school year and said, like, I really need help in being able to continue to pay for this last semester of school so that I can finish this degree. And we were able to provide that for her. And, you know, that brings tears to my eyes because I remember when my mother crossed the stage with her bachelor's degree and I was about to graduate from high school, I saw her do something, and that let me know that I could do it too. And not only could I do it, I could take our family further. And so that's one thing. The second thing is we had two moms actually receive raises and promotions from our coaching for their career and professional development. And that has given them an immense amount of freedom, but also gives a model for the daughter about how you can set a goal and then achieve it, and how it is also okay to receive help and understanding how to navigate that. We don't have a lot of spaces where you get direct coaching on how to um, pursue a promotion or how to negotiate a higher salary specifically for single moms. And the fact that they took the time to do that, invest in themselves, and then pursue it and attain it is really powerful. And I know that we'll be able to do so much more. The thing I think that helps moms and daughters come to us at the onset, like to even see, like, okay, we need help and we need a space to go and to want to come to bond if their relationship is not in the best place, is seeing other mothers and daughters come into our program, to be quite frank. That's one piece. And the other piece is the fact that I work with my mom. So, like, they see my mom and I working together, and we're always very clear in saying, we did not start off having the most amazing relationship. We also went through some rocky times, and it took work to get us to the space that we're in now. And we're still working on it. Like, it is not perfect. So to hear that, you know, you can start from a space that is not maybe the best, and that we are in a place where we're all coming together in a brave space. I don't like to call it a safe space. It's a brave space because we're going to confront some things. And in a space that is comforting and non-judgmental and will help you from where you are, helps moms open up. Because it is really touchy to go to a mother, in particular a single mother, and say, like, you know, you might need some help with your daughter. But it's really because, one, mom wants that relationship with her daughter, and most daughters want that relationship with their mom. Two, they see other moms and daughters come into our program. So they're like, okay, something has to be happening here and we won't be alone. And then it's modeled in the relationship between my mother and I as we work together. And sometimes we work through things with each other in our meetings with our participants, just to be open and transparent and real. Because relationships do take work, but if we put in the work and we have the structures and the space and the community to do it, it can be done in a way that's highly impactful and create very healthy outcomes. So the biggest challenge in this work, honestly, is getting people to understand why it's important to invest in single moms in this way. So we're not talking about TANF, we're not talking about SNAP, we're not talking about these one-off trainings. Like, this is a long-term investment in single moms and daughters, and in particular, Black single moms and daughters. And we know, I would say for us, we have seen that it is harder sometimes for the philanthropic community, and even sometimes for schools who are like very tight with their budgets, to understand why this investment is important and how a two-generation mentoring model is really transformative and creates exponential changes and impact in our communities. And so, there's been a heavy focus, which it should be, on Black males, and that needs to stay the same. At the same time, we have forgotten about our Black women, we have forgotten about our Black girls, and we continue to do so. And so it's often a bit of a tug of war battle to get folks to recognize the importance. We will continue to do the work, regardless of how people view whether this work is important or not. We've gained steam and people are starting to pay attention to it more and more because of research and because of a lot of the racial unrest and issues with Breonna Taylor, and Black women raising more and more of their voices and being heard more and more, I will say, because we always raise our voices. But that's really the biggest issue. Within our community, we recognize the need, and so we get a lot of community support. And by community support, I mean participants. I mean people who are members of the Black community and just want to give to Bond because they know the work is important. But when it comes to outside in the philanthropic world, outside in some of the education spaces, when we think about funding, that is one of the hardest places. That is one of the biggest challenges. So we partner. We believe in partnerships. So and we also do not believe that Bond is the end all be all for supporting single mothers and their daughters. So partnerships are very important to us. We have a couple community partnerships with therapists who provide pro bono support services for our moms and daughters. We've also done partnership work with Mom Cares. We are working with Parity Homes to see about getting our moms on board with home ownership. We have also done partnership with Kennedy Krieger. We have a partnership with Promise Heights, the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, Booker T. Washington. And we are working on a partnership with Bard Early College High School and also Franklin Square Elementary Middle School. We also do have partnerships with Teach for America Baltimore, with Thread, with Baltimore Core, who we've worked closely with, especially around our Thanksgiving basket drive and ensuring that we get full Thanksgiving meals to single parent families across Baltimore City. And also spaces like Land of Kush and Nalas, who will provide food for us for our sessions that we have as well. And so, like, we are just continuing to reach out. And I don't want to forget, we also have a research partnership with 3 researchers who work through Johns Hopkins, they're helping us to develop our surveys, our evaluation forms and process, and then also research white paper so that we can show the effects and impact of Bond in the research community. So very excited about these partnerships, very excited about how many more we've been able to gain over time. I think partnerships we're looking for with our HBCUs, we want to have formal partnerships for interns, especially for social work and public relations and program development. So Morgan State University, which is one of my alma maters, I went there for my undergraduate degree, shouting out you. We are looking for a partnership. Coppin State University absolutely would love to partner with you all as well, especially thinking about the pipeline of our social workers through an organization that was started here in Baltimore City and serves a community that often attends these institutions. And this next year, we are piloting our financial wellness curriculum for Black single moms and their daughters, or Black mothers and daughters. You don't just have to be a single mom to take this curriculum, so that we can close the gap in understanding of generational wealth and our finances in the Black community. Also launching our single mom to single mom mentoring program next year. We launched our box, but we have a magazine that is gaining steam. So solidifying this magazine, having more showcases of single moms and daughters in the magazine, especially in the local area. And then taking the time to deepen our roots in Baltimore City. So expanding to more schools. We're partnering with 4 schools now. We do want to expand to more schools in the next 2 years in Baltimore City. And then after 2 years, we are excited about the opportunity to expand and scale out to places like DC, Philadelphia, and Chicago, who have reached out to us for partnerships. Baltimore needs a boost right now because honestly, we have been through so much. You know, Baltimore has been through a lot in the past 5 and 10 years, and has not gotten a lot of positive, motivational attention from media and even sometimes from ourselves. And so we need a boost because we need to remember that there are amazing things happening in our community every day. And sometimes we walk right past it without seeing it. It's like in The Color Purple when Alice Walker says, how many times can you walk past the color purple and not see it? So we need to see all of our color purples in Baltimore, and we have them. And so let's take the time to listen to these videos. Let's take the time to recognize these organizations and people who are doing amazing things, give them their flowers while they are here, and understand that Baltimore is a growing, persevering, strong, brilliant, beautiful, diverse, charming city. And no one can tell us any different because we make it that way every single day.